What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're going to be going over the Sig P365 XL. This was a gun that was given to me by one of my viewers, wanted me to go through it, clean it, put some oil on it, see what I thought about myself. I really liked this gun, right up there with that Hellcat, which if you guys have seen my other videos before, you know how much I love that Hellcat. But this Sig P365, the XL that I used, was fantastic. The grip was fantastic. The trigger was easy, had really good weight to it, super easy to clean and oil. But we're going to get into all of that. So I did take the gun out, put a few rounds through it. I really like the grip on it. I really like the trigger on it. It's got a good weight to it, really good reset on it. Fantastic gun all in all. I am going to do a review of that one and the Hellcat to see which one that I like personally more. But without wasting any more of your time, let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's get right into it. Today we're going over to the Sig P365. This is the XL, which is the full-size version. I love this gun. We're going to do a full in-depth, like I mentioned, on this gun. Maybe a versus video between this, maybe the Glock, the Hellcat. I think this between the Hellcat would be a great setup. But anyway, stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Comment if that's something you want. But right now we're not doing a review. We're just kind of going to fix this thing. You notice right in here in the trigger, it's all rusted up here, probably from not being well taken care of, stored the right way, not being oiled up. Also on this side here, you can see a little bit of rust forming right there, as well as back here. So we're going to get this thing back up into its original condition, hopefully. First thing we're going to do, check and make sure the weapon is clear. Press your magazine release, get the magazine out. Ensure it's cleared. Push up on this tab here when pulling the slide back. Lock it into place. Ensure your magazine is clear and double check to make sure that your chamber is clear also. Everything's clear, good to go. We are good to now handle this weapon. First thing you're going to do when taking this apart, do the same thing when we cleared it. Slide the slide all the way back. Lock it in place by pushing up. When you do that, this is going to slide into the down position. Once this is in the down position, you do not have to release the trigger. Simply release the slide. I recommend holding it. Make sure that is still in the front position, and it'll slide right off. Super, super simple to take apart. Take a look at that. It's not in bad shape. I mean, she's dry. There's nothing on this. So, gonna have to take that. Take apart the slide. First, let's get this spring out. Put a little bit of forward tension on it. It'll pop. Pull it straight up and slide it out. That easy. You can see the amount of dirt on this thing. Holy cow. To get the barrel out, put a little pressure on the barrel. That'll slide up. Push it forward and slide it out. There's the barrel. Definitely could use some love here. You see all the wear on it. I'll show you a super easy way to clean the barrel as well. Then that's it. That is the field stripping of the Sig Sauer P365 XL. Now let's get into cleaning it. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and spray this with some Ballistol. This is what I like to use when cleaning because it also adds lubrication. We are going to lube it as well with the regular oil points. But when you use this, it lubricates even after it's been wiped off. So even if you don't put the oil directly on the rails like we're going to do here, it's still going to keep everything nice. It's going to prevent this little bit of rusting from happening on these metal triggers that'll happen. So we're going to go ahead and use this here. I'm just going to give a light spray on each rail and then maybe a little bit on this trigger and see if we can't get that off. Nice and coated. And now to try first, I think that might be enough. It seems like just a little bit of rust there. I'm going to try and just use this plastic brush here. I'm not using a aluminum or a brass brush on this. I'm just going to use a regular. Now typically cleaning the trigger itself with oil and brushing it, I don't do that on any of my guns, if I'm being honest with you. But if you got something that comes in, it's got a little bit of rust on it or anything else, it comes right off if you just take a second to tend to it. Probably kept in a room that's not dried out well. If it's kept in a safe that doesn't have those little pucks that you can throw in the bottom, they keep it as dry as possible in there. Or just get a dehumidifier for the room that you're keeping your guns in, and that'll keep everything looking good as well. So as you can see, just a little bit of care on that, and that rust is all gone there. So that trigger's back to brand new shape. I will show it to you again at the end just to show that it's not just wet and ignoring the rust that's on it. The rust is actually gone. It's just a very fine surface rust. So trigger looks great. Let's move on to the next part. Next part for me is going to be these rails here and everything in between. So these rails on both sides here, you can see the gap on both sides here. That's where your actual slide, which we'll show you again when we get to the slide portion, but this inside rail here on the slide on both sides, that's where that rides. So you want to make sure this is nice and clean and a little bit lubricated, which we'll get into in the lubrication portion of this video. But we want to make sure this is nice and clean with no carbon buildup on it. And for that, again, it's not that dirty. It looked like it just needed a little bit more oil than anything. So I'm going to get right into it. Use the same brush and scrub every nook and cranny that you see. You want to scrub everything in here. You want to scrub all these components back here as well, these springs. You're not going to hurt anything. You don't got to really put your back into it, but you want to make sure everything's cleaned out. All right, now that that's done, just go ahead and dry it all off. You're going to see a pattern here. Everything I put on, I make sure that I scrub it right off. So as you can see here, everything looks great. You can see a little bit of the gloss, all the shiny that's coming off of here, just from cleaning it a little bit. You can see that leftover lubrication from this oil, this barrel stall that came off, and how great it looks already. We probably don't need to add any oil. I am going to add a little bit to it, just because this gun isn't used very frequently. But if you wanted to skip that part, you definitely could. I mean, this is nothing like it looked like before. Well, I mean, I can show you with a white part of the cloth. There's nothing on it. I mean, it looks great. It is lubricated. So, but anyway, that's it for the bottom. As you can see, the trigger is still perfectly clean. So that's fantastic. Move on to this. Oh man, I hate to keep pointing it out, but you can see the difference in something that's been cleaned and has a little bit of lubrication on it to something that doesn't. This gun probably has less than 50 rounds through it total, and just from it sitting and not being well maintained, you can see the difference in the gun. That's why even if your guns are sitting in your gun cabinet, you definitely want to take care of them. You still want to give them the same love that you gave the gun that you shoot every single day. So we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to scrub this out. Get rid of this little bit of dirt that's on there, and in the same vein, add a little bit of lubrication to it. So let's get right into that. Now if you remember, we had a little bit of rust on these. You can still see it. It's a little bit wet right now, so you can't see it as well. But deep in these grooves, you can definitely see the speckling on the front and on the back here. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. Same way, I'm just going to use a little bit of Ballstalls. Go ahead and scrub it out. Much better on that side. And that little bit off the front on this side is gone as well, so that looks great. Go ahead and clean the rest of this oil off, and then we'll get to the rest of the gun. There you have it, nice and clean. Oh, you can see the difference already. That's incredible. I apologize for the thumb marks and everything. This is why you like to wear gloves normally, but I am all out, so all my oils and everything are getting back on there. But right onto the barrel, we're going to get rid of all that, and then I'm going to show you the bore snake that I like to use. First, just the barrel itself. Nothing crazy. Usually I'll clean up in here as well, and down in this crevice, but there isn't much buildup in here at all. Like I said, this gun hasn't been used very frequently, so we're not going to get into that on this video, but you can put some oil or spray down in there and then really clean in there if you got a lot of carbon buildup. But this one, as you can see, looks fantastic. There's nothing really built up on it. So we're just going to do the inside of the barrel there, and I'm going to use a bore snake. This is a bore snake. It's got cloth. It's got a little bit of metal weaved into it, a little bit of brass, and then the thicker part to squeegee everything out. You feed it through with this, the way the barrel is in the gun, the way the bullet goes. Bullet goes in this way, that's the way you'll put that brass. Go ahead and give a little bit of spray right before the metal woven part. Hold on and pull through. Go ahead and do that 2 or 3 times. A lot better than the old-fashioned way, I'll tell you that. And just like that, the barrel looks brand new, if you can even tell a difference on camera, but holy cow, that's completely different. Next and last is your spring. All you want to do is get your cloth, put that down, a little bit of spray on it, go ahead and rub it in the cloth. And that's all it takes. Just like that, your gun has been completely cleaned. Now we will get into the oil points. All right, now on to the oil points of the P365. All you want to remember with this, few dabs of oil, rub everything off. What we're gonna do first is take care of your rail. You can see the black here and then the shiny metal, right? My rule of thumb is anywhere you see shiny metal is where you have metal to metal contact that's going to need a little bit of oil. What I like to use is Hops number 9 regular oil. Let's go ahead and open it up, and I'll show you how little you put on and how far it goes. All I do is tip this upside down so oil starts coming out of the spout. When it starts coming out of the spout, I just touch it to the rail, and you can see that there. That tiny little bit, that's it. Didn't even squeeze the bottle. Now I'll take this here, rub it on there, this side of the rail, and a little bit up there. Go ahead and rub it in. If you want to use one of your brushes, you can, to get it in that side of the rail, although you are also going to be oiling the slide itself, so you don't want to put too much on. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. Ooh, it's a big drop. Put it right there. And now once you put it on, first thing you do, rub it off. Sounds counterproductive, but I'm telling you, the more oil you have on, personally, the worse it is. That's going to attract dust, it's going to attract hair, dirt, sand, any condition that you're shooting in. That will be plenty. And I'm telling you, after doing just that little bit of oil and rubbing it off, you're going to feel a difference in the gun, and it won't be leaking oil like some other weapons you'll see out in the field. So that looks good to me. Now let's go ahead and take care of the barrel. You saw before, this part of the barrel was all rubbed down, worn out. What we're going to do is put one dab of oil on this and rub it all around the entire barrel. So go ahead, same thing, flip it upside down, touch it to the metal. I didn't squeeze at all. You got that lube on there. Put it all the way around. Put it where your spring sits here. This is where your slide spring sits, in that crevice there. And put a little bit in there. Go ahead and rub it off. Putting it on and then taking it off is a lot more important than not putting it on at all. Now, if you want to put a lot on, that's fine too. Let me know in the comments down below how much oil you put on, if it works out for you. I will tell you right now, any oil is better than no oil at all. Even if you douse this entire thing in a 5-gallon bucket and then go shoot it, in my opinion, it's not the best way to do it, but at least you're caring for your gun in some way, and that's important enough. The spring, I don't usually put any sort of lubrication on this. If you do use Ballistol or a lot of other cleaners also have the lubrication built into it, that should be enough for this to prevent it from gunking up. You can see in the middle that it's still pretty lubricated and shiny and wet, so I think this is going to be good to go for now. We're just going to put that to the side. Last thing is your slide. Again, you can see where the barrel comes in and out with these shiny points here. So we'll put a little bit in here. I'm going to put a lot here. This is where it rides on the actual frame of the weapon. So this is the gun just kind of cracked open here. So this is where it slides back and forth. And then I'm also going to get the inner rails here on the slide that line up with the outer rails here. So that gun is going to slide back and forth on those rails. We already put a little bit in there, but for good measure, I am going to put some more on the inside of these slide rails here as well, on both sides all the way up. Let's do the top. Then that should be enough. Put some on the rail. Same thing on this side. And then there's the slide. Now when putting the gun back together is fairly simple. Go ahead and take your slide, which looks beautiful now. Take your barrel first. Go ahead and slide it with these notches facing towards the frame or the bottom of the gun itself. Slide it into that bottom hole until it slides into place. It should lock right into place. No effort at all. If you're using effort when putting a gun together, you're doing it wrong. Go ahead and take your spring here, and you want this yellow. If it's not yellow, it's the point that has a perfectly round edge. The other end, you can see, has 2 cuts in it. You want the 2 cuts to go towards the front. In no particular way, have the yellow in the back. But go ahead and input the front of the spring first. Go ahead and compress the spring until it falls down into that groove. That's how it should look once it's in. Now when putting this back together, it's a little bit different. Line up your rails, go ahead and slide it back, and lock your slide. You see how that happened? When you lock your slide, this locks back into place and your gun is now secure. And that is the disassembly, cleaning, oil points, and reassembly of the Sig P365 XL. Stay tuned for more videos with this gun. Very happy to play with it. Thank you to the subscriber that lent me this gun. As you can see here, it's going to get back to you in better shape than you gave it to me. And there you have it. How to take apart, put together, clean, and the oil points for the Sig P365 XL. This one was a little bit dirtier, but we took care of it for him. We got everything oiled, put back together. It's functioning properly, of course. Fantastic gun. I do recommend it. Again, look out for that video of comparing the P365 to the Hellcat. I'm really excited to do that myself. I also have a Beretta 92FS versus the Beretta M9A4 that I'm very excited to do and let you know that if it's worth that extra money to get that M9A4. But until then, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.